Why did you bring me here? This is where my parents were killed.
No. This is where I was born.
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, the Infuso. And I've spoken a lot on this channel about the show Gotham. It's a very divisive show. Some Batman fans love it, some Batman fans hate it. And I'm pretty sure you can tell which side of the field I fall under in that argument. Personally, I think it had some of the greatest depictions of Batman's rogues gallery. And in some cases, I think it actually provided us with the best iteration of certain villains. I've covered the show's Jokers and Harley Quinns before, and yes, I did say that plural in both cases. And I've also talked about the show's Riddler and Penguin, and I definitely do intend on talking in more detail about some of its other big bads. Catwoman, Hugo Strange, Mad Hatter, Mr. Freeze, the Scarecrow, they're all up there to name a few. I will talk about all of those individually in the future. But right now, I want to take the time to show some appreciation for Gotham's Bruce Wayne, who quite frankly was better than he had any right being. Now, when I first heard about the show Gotham, I was not on board. I just wasn't excited to watch a little Batman show. The idea of a 9-year-old Bruce Wayne running around solving crimes just sounded stupid to me. In explanation, this is really dumb. But I think it's the execution of this concept that really makes this show worth watching. But after watching the show and rewatching it a couple times over, I can now say in hindsight that David Mazouz is the greatest Batman there never was. Without any exaggeration here, no hyperbole, I think that this casting is a serious triumph. It's one that's often overlooked or just plain lost in translation. Casting a young Bruce Wayne was never going to be a small feat, but considering that this show's pilot episode starts with the Wayne murders, and I'm not talking in the form of a flashback or a nightmare sequence, meaning that this series would follow a very young Bruce Wayne at a tender developmental age while he's processing the trauma of his parents' passing, it would mean that there would be more asked of this actor than of any other young actor who played the part before. They really needed to find someone whose talents transcended his life experience, and that's not an easy ask. Great child actors are a rarity. Sometimes you'll get a Macaulay Culkin, but then other times, you'll get a Jaden Smith. The role of Bruce Wayne is already a demanding part for any actor, but that's tenfold to a younger, less experienced actor. I don't know how the show managed, but luckily they found the right man. A boy. No, a bat for the job. They essentially had to find a very talented child actor, burden them with playing a younger version of one of the world's most popular fictional characters ever created, and then they had to hope that that young actor would continue to grow into a person who could reasonably one day be that character, all without having him play that character. And let me tell you something, people are unpredictable. You think you have some sort of idea as to who someone's gonna grow into, and then boom, Haley Joel Osment. Explain that. You can't predict these things. It's always a gamble. And in the case of Gotham, that risk paid off. Because I honestly think David is without a shadow of a doubt the best young Bruce Wayne there ever was. No other child actor in this part was asked to do all that he did, and for as long as he did it. Through his performance, we were able to watch Bruce Wayne grow and mature as a person, slowly developing into the legend that we all knew he'd one day be. Despite his age and immaturity, David carries himself with the same thirst for justice that the Bruce Wayne we know did, showing that his parents' untimely demise didn't change him over time. It completely restructured his character in that very moment. While he didn't always have the capabilities that came with being Batman, he did always have the courage that comes with being Batman. The show doesn't try to treat Bruce Wayne like he's already the Dark Knight. Often it shows that in spite of his endless ambition, he's not quite as competent as he'd like to be. He's just dedicated and confident that with more training over time he will be. There's a steady progression throughout the show, and the narrative really does make you feel like you're watching the boy evolve into the man who would evolve into the myth. David plays this character to a T, and he does so without ever feeling like he is playing a character. There's a certain authenticity that comes from David in this role. I don't ever question his performance. Whenever he does something that could be considered on the dimmer side, it feels like it can reasonably be attributed to his inexperience and youth. Both the show and the actor kind of find the perfect balance with just about every aspect of the character. He's smart and witty, but he doesn't have the answers to everything. As a matter of fact, a lot of the time he's still just learning them as he goes along. And I think they do a really good job of showcasing what makes Bruce special. Because a lot of the time when we think of Batman, we think about how overpowered he is. How he has a gadget that can get him out of anything. How he has all these abilities and capabilities that, despite not having any real superpowers, somehow anybody up against him is outmatched. But Gotham makes it clear. Bruce didn't excel in life because he had this supernatural understanding of the world around him. He excelled because he had an incredible eagerness to learn about the world around him. Before he had all the answers, he had the foresight to listen, and he learned how to seek them out. When I say that they found the right balance, I mean for almost every part of the character. Personality-wise, Bruce isn't played as being a total broody and monotone loner, even if there are a fair amount of moments of angst and sadness disguising itself as aggression. There's still everything else that comes with being a kid. Gotham gives us everything we know of Bruce Wayne, and it does so without going to extremes and turning him into a caricature. This is a fully fleshed out, three-dimensional character. Bruce still deals with the trauma of his parents' passing, but he does it in passing. It comes and goes. He maintains one mission all throughout the show, but he's also not immune to getting the occasional crush or having a friendship that takes temporary priority. Because even though he is Bruce Wayne, he's also just a kid. He feels different from the world around him, but not to the point of being a complete alien to the concept of being a child. There's still pettiness, random rivalries, flings, and ice cream cones all along the way. I really appreciate that Gotham shows that even though this kid will one day be Batman, it also shows that Batman was once a kid. Sure, that terrifying, traumatic moment took a lot of normality out of his life, and it definitely had long-lasting effects. But it's good to see that there was some semblance of normality in his life. He did have a childhood. He was surrounded by people who loved him. Despite being a junior detective and a youthful crime fighter, he also had experiences that a lot of other people have experienced. It's a nice little humanizing moment that I think's easy to look past. This actor personified what it means to be Batman, while still approaching the part with a humble naivety. Dealing with a Bruce in his earlier years means a lot of the runtime is spent teaching Bruce life lessons that apply to his personal life, but also life lessons that he'll apply in his extracurricular activities. Even the smaller life lessons that are learned by Bruce can be applied to the greater narrative of his legacy. Something as simple as Alfred teaching him how to stand up to a bully could be seen as the basis for how he punishes wrongdoers in the future. And if you think I'm looking too far on that one, keep in mind that this bully is actually Hush himself, Thomas Elliot. So it's safe to say that history will be repeating itself in the future. It's really interesting to watch Bruce interact with all those in his life. I think because of Bruce's age, it gives the story a chance to further develop parts of the lore that usually go unspoken or just not really mentioned when you have the great Batman discussion. Through a lot of these relationships, we see his character get etched out more and more. His youth provides an opportunity for Alfred to be showcased as a father figure, trainer, and mentor for Bruce Wayne, rather than just hired help with well-prepared speeches. As a matter of fact, I would go as far to say that this is my favorite on-screen interpretation of Bruce Wayne and Alfred's bond. In Batman lore, Alfred's importance is usually very understated, and sometimes it's even underappreciated in canon. But what I love about this dynamic is that we're seeing how crucial Alfred is to the development of Bruce Wayne. How he was there to try to guide him on his path and reel him back in whenever he was going too far. Alfred isn't always showcased as having been Bruce's legal guardian. This show shows us a side to their relationship that most either barely acknowledge or just outright ignore. Alfred is always shown to be useful and beneficial to the Bat family, but what goes undersaid is just how instrumental he is in the life of Bruce Wayne, fulfilling a role he may not have been perfectly equipped to handle at first. Raising a child as his own that isn't his own. I also appreciate this insight into the friendship between Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon. That's yet another aspect of the lore that's given very little attention. Gordon always served a role in Bruce's upbringing, but that role is very rarely alluded to past him being the responding officer on the night that Bruce's parents were killed. The early years of their alliance is fully fleshed out here, in ways that aren't even done in most comic books. It's made clear why Batman would hold Gordon to such a high standard. There's a long-standing history there, and a mutual respect and trust between them. While Gotham may be an accurate representation of the brand spiritually, canonically, liberties are taken, and a lot of the story beats are changed. The show introduces the one-day Batman to a lot of his later villains at an earlier age. A sans mask. While I don't think every early encounter is noteworthy or well done, there's plenty of characters that I question, was it even worth having him meet them? Did it serve a bigger end goal? There are still plenty of other dynamics that look familiar despite being somewhat different. I've talked about this in many other videos, but the show had two Jokers, both of which were played by actor Cameron Monaghan. To different extents, both of these Jokers had an obsession not with Batman, but with Bruce Wayne, with Jeremiah acknowledging Bruce as his best friend, which seems like the most on-brand thing I can think of for the Joker. What makes this interesting is that he's not Batman, and legally speaking, he was not the Joker. But the pair still portray their parts perfectly, and they create a legitimate chaotic connection. Look, you can call them whatever you like, but this still feels like Batman and the Joker. When people see these two characters interact, it doesn't matter that they're calling each other Jeremiah and Bruce, they're still going to see Batman and the Joker. Selina and Bruce also share a bond that feels reminiscent of their masked counterparts. They come from different walks of life, but find some comfort in each other's genuineness. Bruce even learns from Selina a bunch of things that he'll more than likely implement into his own hero game. His relationships inform his growth, and his growth serves the character. It's almost as if every dynamic, every interaction, is just a small stepping stone to get Bruce to the mantle. While Gotham can sometimes be goofy, it honestly is a pretty beautiful, if not somewhat basic narrative that makes the lead up to the final shot feel earned. Although I will admit that the last two seasons of the show did sort of feel like they were being fast-forwarded through, as if the show was doing everything it could to get Bruce to his final destination, to end this story with the start of another. But even with that change in pace, I do feel like everything came across as fairly legitimate and worthwhile. I said it before and I'll say it again, Gotham had the very best young Bruce Wayne. But I would also take it a step further and say that I think Gotham had one of the greatest Bruce Waynes of all time. Don't get me wrong, the persona needs a little polishing for sure. He's not really at the hated public figure level yet, but I don't really think that that's the fault of the actor, but rather a function of the character and where he's at this point in his life. We definitely see a little bit of that front from time to time, but it's not often and it hasn't been perfected. Bruce's fake ego does on rare occasion come out to play, but it feels underdeveloped and almost like it's in the blueprint phase. And given his age and where he's at in life, I think that's actually not only valid, but more realistic. I think David excels as Bruce Wayne the person. There were so many moments in the show where despite the character's age and limitations, that I could pinpoint and go, oh, that's Batman. Whether he was 15 or 25, and whether he had a mask on or not, David always felt like he was one day going to be Batman, but wasn't there yet, which is exactly what he was playing, so job well done. He was always entertaining, and he always came across as the iconic character during some of his most vulnerable years. I think he's tragically underspoken of for the simple fact that he didn't play Batman. I think if you're talking about best Batmans and best Bruce Waynes, he is absolutely a name that needs to come up in that conversation. I understand why he won't be one of the first names, given the fact that he didn't play Batman, he just played Bruce Wayne, but I'm also of the opinion that Bruce Wayne is just as important to the brand as Batman. So with all that being said, if you like this video and would be interested in seeing a video on Gotham's Hugo Strange, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
I had a strange feeling, Batman.
I was your least favorite YouTuber, V Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
Give your time.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.